All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
Mayor Holland.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Brownlow.
Here.
Commissioner Sanderson. Commissioner Sawyer.
Here.
Commissioner Wooten.
Here.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Commissioner Sanders from this evening.
All right, motion is on the floor by Commissioner Sawyer to excuse Commissioner Sanderson from the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Please bow your heads for a prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to come here tonight. May we all remember to lead with servant hearts, keep the best interests of the town of Emerald Isle at the forefront, and be with us all day, every day, as you always are. In your humble name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Please stand and face the flag for our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I ask for an adoption of the agenda, I'd like to take a moment to not apologize for the way I'm dressed tonight, but to explain a little bit about the way I'm dressed tonight. Take a little bit of digging, but I dug back down in the archives and I went to one of my Facebook posts back in July of 2021. And it was a very, very happy picture of myself, a selfie, if you will. I had the lady at the BOE take it. And it was the day that I registered to run for mayor of the town of Emerald Isle. And I look pretty much like I do right now. I had on flip-flops and shorts and a ball cap, and I was just Jason Holland with the nickname of mayor, with the hopes of becoming your mayor, everyone's mayor. Not anything less, anything more. So tonight, I, for lack of a better term, wanted to channel the OG, if you will, Jason Holland. Still very much your mayor, still very proud to be your mayor, and I didn't write it down because I don't like doing that. I wanted to remember what it felt like to be everybody's mayor and not just sit up here once a month and chair the meeting and let whatever happens, happens, and go home and pine over it and complain to my family about it and regret not being the people's mayor and the mayor that I swore to you all that I would be. That said, it's been on my mind for a long time. It's been on my mind for more than 30 days, more than the last time I've seen all of you, is that I have not been doing that at these meetings. I do it when I leave. I know the average person can only imagine the 29 to 30 days in between the meetings, the business that goes on and the ins and outs of what it takes to run a town. I don't run the town, but I've learned a lot in the last 30 or so months about what it takes for us to be able to drive up and down Emerald Drive and enjoy this beautiful place, and that's all we have to do. It is beyond measure, and I still can't wrap my head around it on a regular basis. I swore to not only the 783 or 5 or whatever people that voted for me that I would always represent the town's interest as a whole, not a few very vocal, not the 4, 5, 6, 7,000 that never say a word, all of you. And it cost me a lot. It cost me sleep. It cost me friendships. It cost me weird feelings in the grocery store when people that I thought were my friends would take a different aisle because I won and somebody else didn't, or something happened that I had absolutely no control over. And, you know, it hurt, but I knew it was coming. I just didn't know how it would make me feel. But I was prepared for it, or so I thought. And, you know, we, as everyone up here has had a chance to learn, it's not easy. What's really not easy is to meet with you all once a month, go through the motions of this agenda, call out agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, listen to things that I know are not right, and listen to things that I know aren't accurate, and listen to things that don't get the respect and admiration and appreciation that they deserve. And that's why I am back in, excuse me, back in original form to let you know that some things are right. No matter how they make us feel, some things are right. And some things are wrong. Just because something's right and it makes you feel bad doesn't make it wrong. Just because someone tells you something is wrong, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case either. Things are not all right. They are not. I swore 2.5 years ago to serve this town with the interest of everybody at heart, even the people that stopped talking to me when I lucked out and won a popularity contest that was the mayor election of 2021. I still consider those people my friends, and I still work for those people just as much as I work for the people that openly love and adore me today. I'm here to tell you that things are not all right. I'm here to tell you that what is supposed to be happening right now is not happening right now. I'm here to tell you we have an amazing staff. We have a balanced budget that can be tweaked, can be improved upon. Are we wasting money? Absolutely not. Is our staff completely messing up everything they put their hands on? Absolutely not. Could they do a better job? For sure. And forgive me for rambling. Anybody that knows me knows I have a habit of that. But I learned a lot from the veteran staff that we have and that we had, decades-long veterans on both sides of the desk. And that is those are the people that I went to first when I decided to try to become your mayor. And I learned a lot, and I still learn a lot from them every day. And I do my best, even though I mess up and I'm not without sin and I can get it wrong sometimes too. I do my best to get up every day with every single one of you here on TV, on watching at home, or whether you don't even know what goes on in this room. I love and care about you all, and when I make a decision or I make a suggestion or I offer feedback, it is with everyone in mind. That is not happening here. I call upon our staff to continue to do the fantastic job that you do. I call upon our board to remember why you're here, why you said you were here. Remember the oath that you took. Remember that everybody on Emerald Isle, whether they lived here for a year, 100 years, they're in for the weekend, or they've never heard of the place, they all matter, they all count. I'm sorry to interrupt the natural flow of the meeting, but I felt like it needed to be said. I've said it out loud to myself, driving down the road, sitting here on a mower with earmuffs on, talking to myself, and it did not get me where I felt like I needed to be in my heart. So thank you for allowing me to share, and unless someone has objection, we'll get down to business now. Thank you. All right, item number 5 would be the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Commissioner Sawyer has the motion to adopt. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. I'll invite Fire Chief Billy Mathias up for lifeguard recognitions and summer 2024 statistics.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for having us here tonight. Citizens, thank you for being here. In the back of the room, I can honestly say are some of the best people, employees that we've had here for in Emerald Isle for what they do on our beach strand, the 12 and a half miles that we protect. They've seen kind of a little bit of both this summer with the yellow and red flags, tropical storm last week. Definitely showed some of the first year guards a little bit different side of what we do out here on Emerald Isle. But two people I do want to definitely name. Supervisor McKenzie, she's in the center. She's probably not going to come forward. She definitely did not want to talk in the presentation tonight, but she is a supervisor for us on the beach strand, and she has stepped up tremendously this year. This is probably the first year that I have been the furthest away from the program, just handling everything else, safety, fire, EMS, with the department. So she has stepped up tremendously. With that, Supervisor Rachel, she's not going to raise her hand. There she goes. She and Mackenzie have done a fantastic job with the program, with training. All of our returning guards who have filled in on their days off have stepped up in supervisor roles for a few shifts here and there, so those two ladies back there in the back of the room can have a break. One thing I will say is this year's junior lifeguard program saw 70 to 75 children, okay, from the ages of 9 all the way up to 17. Both of those ladies in the back of the room put that program together this year. They worked with the Emerald Isle Beach Patrol Group and the sponsorship, water bottles, dry fit rash guards, pizza party, everything to provide the youth that come to Emerald Isle and even stay here in Emerald Isle the opportunity to learn about marine life, safety, and what is really pertinent if you are visiting our area or live in our area. So that was tremendous. I'll go ahead and go into the slideshow because this is all their work that I'm about to talk about. So our season started Good Friday in March 29th, and this data is up to date to Sunday with our reporting. We've had 80 water rescues in that time frame. Those guards or those people standing in the back of the room have pulled 134 people who have been in trouble along our beach strand out of that water, okay? There's not a price tag we can put behind a life saved. We've had over 7,500 identified problem surf conditions, rip currents, shore break. I got tongue-tied there. Help me out, other current. Parallel currents, longshore, sorry. Drew a blank. 10,000 warned swimmers, 142 welfare checks, okay? Now, I will break down a welfare check. A welfare check, the guards see the patient or see the swimmer in the water. They identify whether or not they're going to be leaving their feet and making a swimming motion, okay? If they're going to do that, they call it in as a water rescue. But 142 patrons along our beach strand have had a guard come out to them to make sure that they're not in distress, okay? They were able to walk out to them or get them out of the shore break without having to make a swimming motion. So this number here, thanks to Tropical Storm Debby, got about 9,000 figures added to it, but 22,000 public education, okay? That's stopping, getting either somebody to come in out of the water to talk to us, or us, not us, them going out in that water to speak with them and let them know they're either close to a rip current or our flags have changed or we're seeing this in their area. Utilize their services, 17 missing or lost persons. That assists our police department greatly, okay, as far as roving that beach strand, identifying these missing or found people, and then 138 first aid. 138 first aid, that helps our EMS system here in Emerald Isle. That means they're handling cold exposures, heat exposures, Band-Aids, stubbed toes, small stuff like that, that some people would call an ambulance and EMS for, which then ties us up on that call. All that was done with 23 USLA trained lifeguards. That's both what we consider full-time, 40 to 30 hours per week, and along with part-time personnel to fill in those. We had 7 rescue swimmers. Now, these rescue swimmers are full-time employees with the fire department. They have been trained same as the lifeguards, and they have also passed the swimming requirements that the lifeguards have to pass. So they are tit for tat, and they help us backfill in our shoulder seasons. And some of them are in the back of the room there. Oh, there's Luke. And Kyle and Grant. Season concludes September 30th for our guards. Our beach flags will stay up until October 31st, and that's in coordination with the National Weather Service and their rip current forecasting. We've already lost 6 to 8. I know I just heard Ethan is going back tomorrow. So we lose him tomorrow, so we're starting to see the reduction. I'm pretty sure Mackenzie, she's going to be returning to her primary job as a school teacher, probably within the next week or so. So we're starting to see these guards drop off, and that's where those rescue swimmers really kick in and help us protect those beach strand until that summer season really and truly dies down. And with the help of Mark Cruz, wherever he's tucked away at in there, he was able to get with Supervisor Rachel and get this kind of coordinated. And so this is just some of the characters that we've got. They do a great job again. Great to get to know them the little bit I was able to this year, but excellent job. And if there's any questions, please let me know. But if not, please join me in a round of applause for their services.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you all so very, very much. It's one of those unnoticed things we don't hear about until something goes wrong, but on behalf of the entire town, we're grateful for each and every one of you. It'd be a whole different place if you weren't here. So thank you all very, very much from the bottom of my heart. Rachel can hold the mic for the picture. You don't have to say anything. But you know. Excuse me.
Right here at 3, 2, 1. About 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right. Thanks again for leading the charge, Chief.
No problem. I'll stay there. Back up to you.
Yep, you are. Item number 7A, we have some Hurricane Tropical Storm Debby Department reports. A is Fire EMS and Ocean Rescue, so you're back up, sir.
Test.
I'm sorry. It's not on my page, but we can do it.
Just kidding. Well, the good news is, well, I'm filling in some space here. Luckily enough, we just had a brushing with Tropical Storm Debby. It was pretty normal for us. We readied everything. We talked amongst the town departments, making sure all bases were covered. We pulled in our emergency operations plan. We reviewed that as a town staff, because I know a lot of us have either very few as far as in our leadership roles or are new to those. We've had some interchange and retirement of people. And so, making me talk a lot in there. I'm trying to fill time. So this data was from the 5th to the 11th. So we encompassed that entire week. So when we start talking about storm prep, we're talking days in advance before we're even thinking about getting wind or rain or anything like that. So over that time period, the Fire EMS Ocean Rescue Department had 52 emergency incidents, slightly above normal from the previous week. So there you go. 14 emergency medical service incidents, that's EMS calls, 7 surf rescues, 6 public service, 3 arcing lines, 2 lines down. There was a structure fire in that period of time, a water search that lasted 5 hours, just over 5 hours, I believe, on the sound side. The watercraft in distress, appliance short circuit, assist other agency, cover or standby. Due to the number of calls that were going out in the county, we were requested to move up into stations to cover and stand by a larger area for our mutual aid and automatic aid departments. Water leak, search for a lost person, extrication, rescue, and 11 good intent. Now, those 11 good intent, those are those smoke detectors that batteries didn't get changed when they were supposed to, and so they were beeping. And so those kind of fall into that. We do have them categorized, but for the sake of this slideshow, they are grouped into good intent in our report. So those are your false calls or, oh, there was no emergency at this location. That's where those calls fall. We did have red flags throughout that entire time period. I think we made the decision to make red flags on the Friday before that weekend due to our current local conditions. 17 people were rescued during that time frame. Again, there was over 2,500 warned swimmers, over 4,000 educational and prevention messages. I will say on Wednesday, it was unreal the amount of people who were still on our beach strand and still in that water. We were stopping and advising them, hey, we've got a tropical storm 100 miles off our coastline. What are you thinking? But they wanted to enjoy the water. It's like, well, that's great, but can you wait till Saturday or Sunday? It might get a little bit better. But that's the unfortunate nature of a tropical or Mother Nature. During that time period, prior to the storm, this is some of our readiness. Our medically fragile list was contacted, so the town maintains anybody who may need assistance, family members, bedridden. All those people get called before every natural disaster, as long as we have some leadway on that. Storm-ready equipment, county control meetings, other meetings amongst the county, fire, law enforcement chiefs, and then the EOC was readied by Mr. Hayes and made sure in the event that we seen something similar to Florence where it would go the opposite direction and increase, we were ready to kind of bug out if we needed to. That's it. Good deal.
Chief, thank you very much, sir.
Great job, Chief.
Fantastic work. Thank you. All right, next up, we have Chief Mike Panzarella from the Police Department with an update. How you doing that, Chief?
Good, sir. How are you? Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Much like Chief Matthias said, we spent time preparing to monitoring the daily briefings that came from emergency management. Attended a couple meetings that were facilitated by the town manager in preparation for the storm. We ensured our staff had clear communication regarding the storm. We ensured staff had all the equipment they needed and that their equipment was in good working order. And the main thing we saw at the police department was an influx in disaster reentry permits. So as Chief Matthias said, the week of August 5th through the 11th, our department answered 272 calls for service, approximately 38 calls per day over that 7-day period. We took 7 incident reports. 2 most noted were the overdue kayakers, which were safely found, and some found military ordnance that was disposed of by Cherry Point EOD. We had 2 motor vehicle collisions. They issued 5 state citations. They issued 8 civil citations, 5 warning citations. We conducted preventative patrols in the residential areas, businesses, and beach trust. We monitored road conditions and assisted other town departments when needed.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
Fantastic work by you and your department as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, next up would be 7C, Public Works Director Joe Smith. Good evening, Joe.
Good evening.
Excuse me.
So, the Public Works Department, through the Tropical Storm Debby, same dates, 5 through the 11th, did a heck of a job, and I'll be honest with you, I was on vacation, so I was a little worried, but I couldn't get out of that one. But I was in contact with Chad for a little while. He definitely is overworked and tired, so I really appreciate him a lot. So when you see him, thank him. So some of the things we do before we get ready for Debby are we go through our chainsaws, portable pumps. We go check the groundwater pumps that are already positioned at 7 locations. They go out, make sure the diesel generators are full that are at some of the facilities. We'll go out, make sure the propane tanks are filled up at the other facilities that have that. They go out and clear, check catch basins and ditches. And just a little side note, every month we are out there with our ditch witch, vacuuming down, cleaning out all our catch basins and stuff like that and checking. So that's a lot of stuff we prepare every month just for this instance. They also went around and secured some items in the facilities, and in the meantime, Monday, I believe it was, they were out between the help of Matt and Chad. They were securing some 6-inch standby pumps and hoses and fittings. So the next day, it was like between Tuesday and Wednesday, they placed out some 2-inch pumps on Cedar Street, one at the eastern end of Redrive in between East Seaview and West Seaview to keep that area down. Shipwreck Lane, we put one there to help kind of control that. We're in the process of converting that over between 3-phase and our new pump. The new pumps are installed, but we had a little issue with the electric companies and getting their stuff done. So we're working on that. Hopefully within next week, they'll be there to finish the power up and get those back up online. They went out, they dropped high water signs, checked the prone flooded areas to make sure that things were staying passable. Where they placed a 6-inch pump down at the channel cul-de-sac to help get that out, get that water down. They had one in Cape Emerald to help maintain that, to keep that from overflowing or going into the street, causing anything. Same thing, we were called out to Bogue Sound Court, place a pump out there, get that off the cul-de-sac. And I think around Fawn area, they had one out there. So I didn't put this in the slide because I really didn't think about it, but it was on my mind. But another employee asked me how many gallons of water we pump. So we did a quick kind of calculation, and from what we came up with, it was probably over 6 million gallons of water that was pumped out. I had to double check it like 3 times because I was really surprised too, but just in case anybody wants to know. So actions during the storm, obviously we keep the streets clear. They check the streets for all kinds of debris. Luckily, we only had one reported tree down that they had to remove off the street, and that was a Shore Rush Drive. They were just out continuing monitoring the pumps in the flooded areas. Finally, we did get permission, I believe it was Wednesday, to pump out to Bogue Sound or onto the beach for certain areas. We have to get permission for that. We just can't, start pumping out. So we call Chad or somebody, or we call Matt, and they reach out to Shellfish Sanitation, and then we get the permission and tell them what areas we're gonna be pumping so they can do what they have to do and get signage out and stuff like that. While they were there, what else? They removed the lifeguard stands off the beach because of the tide and the winds coming in. They secured trash cans on the beach. And I believe Tuesday, Public Works teams were asked to be on standby to be called in at a notice. I think we were just called out once over the night for a high water alarm float, and by the time they got there, everything was fine. So that worked out really good. Post-storm assessments, they went out, they replaced 4 beach drain warning flag poles. They put the lifeguard stands back out on the beach and secured those. Checked the recycle and trash cans for the upcoming weekend to make sure those are all ready and able to go. They checked whatever little pumps we still had running, fueled them up, and the ones that weren't used were run back to the shop, cleaned up, fueled up, and put back into storage. So here's just a little, if you're interested. So at the Public Works facility for those 6 days, we recorded 9.22 inches of rain. Deerhorn was 11.6 inches of rain, and Beaucourt was 7.62 inches of rain is what we received throughout the duration of the storm. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Thanks, Joe.
Joe, we really appreciate it, and thankfully, myself and the elected officials and all the staff are out and about, and people have questions, and you all's hard work and continuous updates to me and the board about what's going on, what to expect, what we've done. It's insanely helpful to actually have the answers when people ask us the questions. So thank you, sir, and thank you for everything you do.
You're welcome. Anytime. Thank you, guys.
All right, next up, be an update from the planning department with town planner Chris Seberg. Hi, Chris.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So
Excuse me.
our department's more of a post-disaster assessment and compliance for any rehab work that may occur. So our function during Debby was more support. Any department needing our assistance, we just lended our support to try to help with the matter. I've been asked, since we really don't have a post-storm report, to present items in support of agenda item number 13 for this purpose. And this is just an overall activity report for the department. And I'll just kind of squeeze through here. Whoa, where's this thing going? Okay, so, all right.
Excuse me.
Greg's doing this on purpose for me. Okay, so, so I'm going to ad lib this. The report shows a number of permits, trying to give some data for you as a board to review as part of request number 13. Total number of permits issued from a period of fiscal year 2017 through 2018, all the way through 23 and 2024. You see a lot of increased numbers on the permits issued. There are there we nope. Okay. So this is what I'm reading through right here, and you'll see that area that's highlighted in yellow, that there's some anomalies on there because that's when we transition from having our in-house inspections department. As far as giving an idea of the construction value, this is the total cost of each of the permits we issue. There you go. Okay. So you'll see a gradual increase. There's a little bump down there from fiscal year 2019 through 2020. That's assumed to be COVID related. But you see from that time frame, other than that, you see some pretty significant increases in valuations of construction, number of permits. Very similar, right around that January 22. That's when you saw an adjustment when we weren't issuing trades permits. So you'll see an adjustment on there. But if you look at the last 3 years, there was a decrease in 22 and 23. I don't know if that was inflation related or what, but we are seeing just that increase on that. Also wanted to present code enforcement activities that we had available, just to give the board that understanding. So we just have records, digital records in our iWorks permitting system for 2022 through 23 fiscal year and fiscal year 23 and 24. So you'll see a increase of 36% in that activity in just those 2 fiscal year periods. Other planning activities or duties that we handle. We've got, of course, customer service. We do field Q&A on our rules and regulations, try to help and assist in any way we can. Planning staff to this board, planning staff to the planning board, planning staff Board of Adjustment, and planning staff to the newly established Stormwater Committee, information technology staff for the town, education outreach. Let's see, assisting applicants with permit requests. Sometimes that is very quick, sometimes that takes some time. Post-disaster damage assessment, redevelopment compliance. We're also the local permitting officer for CAMA permitting processes. We coordinate our community rating system through FEMA. That is that extra effort that the town does in publications and whatnot, and receive in return a reduced premium on our flood insurance. Flood regulations implementation assistance, stormwater mitigation efforts, and of course, long-range planning efforts. And that's all I have.
Chris, thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very, very much. All right, public information messaging, almost skipped you, but I caught myself. Good evening, Mark Cruz, our PIO. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm just going to go over real quick what our efforts were on media outreach during the Hurricane Tropical Storm event. These are over a course of a week. So public service announcements, we released 4 of them. The first one was the trash pickup suspended. Second one was stormwater preparation. The third was for the last day for the yard debris, and the fourth was about the accesses and the parks being closed. Out of those, there was 4 email campaigns. We sent over 38,000 emails, which had a 61% open rate, which is pretty good in the world of emails. Our social media statistics, we posted 97 posts about storms and the tropical storm and ways to mitigate problems. Our reach during these 5 days, you can read the numbers there, but if you add all those up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, is just over 100,000 people. And during that period of time, we had over 17,000 people visit our website, and we made 9 news flash posts, which are at the very top of the website just to help keep people informed of what's going on. But that was our efforts on communicating safety and storm-related events.
Thank you. Mark, I have one quick question for my own personal knowledge. If anybody else learns something, that's great. As far as the social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, how are the reaches, excuse me, counted? Is it an open? Is it a watch so much of this video? How does that part work?
So you have different metrics for each type of media that you post. So if it's a video, if it's beyond 3 seconds, it's counted. The post it's literally when someone scrolls and it passes on their screen, it counts those.
You saw it.
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. All right. So just a curiosity from my own curiosity.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
All right, we'll wrap up Debby reports. Hope everybody fared pretty well there, other than just being wet for a week. But we'll move on to item number 8, will be our public announcements. So whenever we're ready to roll that, we'll go.
It is time for the August Emerald Isles public service announcements. First up is Pack the Precinct, going on from August 5th to August 15th. Drop off school supplies at the Emerald Isle Police Department to support local students. The Emerald Fest Music Concert Series continues on August 15th at the Western Ocean Regional Access. Please bring your lawn chair blankets, but no alcohol, please. There will be a blood drive on August 16th from 1 to 5:30 p.m. at the Emerald Isle Community Center. The next Police Educating the Public event happens August 20th from 10 to 11 a.m. in the town boardroom. Come have coffee with a cop on August 22nd from 9 to 10 a.m. in the town boardroom. The next planning board meeting is August 26th from 6 to 7 p.m. You can apply for beach driving permits in person starting September the 1st. The administration offices and community center will be closed September 2nd in observance of Labor Day. The next neighborhood watch meeting on September 3rd from 4 to 5 p.m. Join Emerald Isle Parks and Rec for the 18th annual Day for Kids event on Saturday, September 7th. This free event runs from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The 6th annual Emerald Isle Fishing Tournament is happening on September 28th. Go to eifishing.com for more information. And the next Board of Commissioners meeting will have September 10th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in the town boardroom.
All right. Thank you, Mark and team, for putting that together. I really appreciate that. Item number 9, excuse me, item number 9 is new to our agenda. I'd like to thank any and all members of the board for this suggestion. I don't know why we hadn't been doing this before, but hey, better late than never. I'll say before this that this will be a standing item on our agenda, and it's we heard you in follow-ups to prior comments. Last meeting we heard a young lady during public comment, so they come up and we have public comment, they address the board. By rules of procedure, it's not an opportunity for dialogue and back and forth and all that, but, you know, we don't ever hear back, you know, did anything happen, did nothing happen, did everything happen? So we've added follow-ups to prior public comments as a standing agenda item, and I'm going to thank staff for putting this together. I asked for follow-ups to the prior meeting so that we could read those aloud and have those prepared for anybody that wanted them. Our clerk, Jim Wellborn, I think a few months over and beyond, and this document goes all the way back to January of this year. So if you had anything even this year, the follow-ups to it and the supporting documentations in this, I guess, probably 40-page document. But I'm going to take a quick second. I'm not going to read it all to you. But just from the July meeting, I'm going to run through them real quick for everybody at home that doesn't have access to a hard copy. But if you want a hard copy with everything dating back to January of this year with supporting documentation, it's on the table on your way out if you didn't grab it on your way in. So public comments from July 9th, Melinda Stallings of 101 Coquina Drive expressed her disappointment in the unprofessionalism portrayed at last month's board meeting and concerns about follow-ups and monthly public comments. She suggested noting reports of follow-up actions taken in the meeting minutes or at the next Board of Commissioners meeting, stressing open communication between the commissioners, town, and public. The board addressed it, and at the June 19th, 2024 special meeting, the town and Board of Commissioners will now provide public comments and follow-ups. Lori Ahuna of 320 Loblolly spoke in opposition to item 15, PTO for employee birthdays, citing that the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget was recently approved and this topic should be tabled until the next budget workshop in 2025. Subject was 2025. Subject was further discussed and ultimately tabled until a later date at the July 9th, 2024 board meeting. Brad Altland of 201 Eagles Nest spoke in opposition to item 15, PTO for employee birthdays, citing fee increases in the 24-25 budget, asking where the extra money for birthday PTO would come from. He also asked how many full-time employees live in Emerald Isle. The subject was further discussed and tabled until a later date at the July 9th board meeting. Annette Ruth of 315 Loblolly Street thanked the commissioners for attempting to work together. She also spoke in opposition of item 15, PTO for employee birthdays, and asked how birthday PTO would bring a positive revenue to the town. She suggested that employees use their vacation days if they want their birthday off, and said the town's employee package is already wonderful, citing a few of the benefits offered. Again, it was tabled to a later date at the July 2024 board meeting. Peter Carey of 109 Coquina Drive suggested the commissioners to follow up on public comments from the previous month's commissioners meetings. At each meeting, the town and Board of Commissioners will now provide public comment follow-ups. So that's the update from July. The rest of the reading is on the table on your way out if you didn't grab a copy, and I'm sure if you're not here and you'd like to have a hard copy, it can be emailed to you or you can pick one up at admin. So thank you for doing that.
It's on the website also.
Yes, okay, thank you for that reminder. It's also on our town website. Learned something new myself. All right, item number 10 would be public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. It doesn't have to be item specific. If you signed up on the sign-up sheet, the clerk will call your name. Come up to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes. At the end of 3 minutes, I'll thank you for your comment. I'm not cutting you off, but to be respectful to any other speakers, I'll ask that you wrap up your thought, and we'll go from there.
Sarah Fullwood.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, I'm Sarah Fullwood, 126 Apple Drive.
Can I, just for the people at home there, we'll reset your clock there.
Okay. Good evening, I'm Sarah Fullwood, 126 Apple Drive, and I've officially passed the pickleball club torch to Val Perry, but she's out of town today. So I've been asked to bring a couple of items to the board's attention. There are various concerns and misinformation regarding methodology used for scheduling our fantastic new courts. I'm guessing that town officials have received a fair amount of comments on this issue as well, and they may have even received some actual ideas on what could be done to improve the process. Back in April, Matt and Candace met with a few members.
Sorry about that, but you're good.
You want me to start
There
over?
we go.
Start over, or no?
I think we'll be good there. If you want, if you're all right, we're all right.
I'm all right.
Yes, ma'am.
So back in April, Matt and Candace met with a few members of the pickleball community about nets and court usage. And Matt indicated at that time that he would set up an opportunity for members of the tennis and pickleball communities to come together to discuss how to best utilize the limited town assets available for those two sports. As of July 9th, Matt was still working to find potential dates to facilitate a productive discussion on scheduling and court availability. So what I've been asked to propose tonight is that the board establish a committee that includes members of the tennis and pickleball communities. This committee would work to provide actionable solutions for scheduling, maintenance, court utilization, and special events on the courts such as clinics and tournaments. This committee would help ensure transparent communication between town staff and the court constituency. And the committee would help ensure that decisions regarding this very popular town asset are actually informed by consolidated input from those that actually use these resources. I know there is a lot of pessimism among some of the staff about whether or not we can all be cordial and neighborly when it comes to the very sensitive topic of pickleball and tennis. But I remain optimistic that given the chance to have open and transparent dialogue with one another, that we can perhaps be that shining town on a hill or an island that proves that adults can work together to find great compromises that benefit the entire community. But in the absence of such a committee at this point, I've been asked to request two things. One, that if a new scheduling system is put in place, that some type of priority be given to paying members of the rec center. And two, that specific dates and times be set aside for some type of open play. And that's where all members of the community of any skill level can come together and play without having scheduled the courts. On a personal note, I truly appreciate the recent efforts that the board has made to follow up on the items that are brought forward during public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chip Thomas.
Good evening, sir. There's an on-off switch. It's teeny, but it's there. Keep talking. It takes.
Is it on? Red light? Okay. Good evening. My name's Chip Thomas. I'm the president of Cape Emerald's Homeowners Association, and I'm here tonight, number one, to thank the Public Works Department for all they did to support us with the recent flooding that we were incurring during Hurricane Debby. Is that right? They were very prompt. Joe was out of town on vacation, and Chad was very, very helpful, and he got the pump out there very quickly. They did a good job. The level of the water in our main pond got to the very top. and we were concerned it was going to flow over, but they did a great job. But while we're thankful for their help, we also need more help for the future. It seems like every time the rains come, we've had 8-inch storms on one weekend a year or two ago, now 12. We actually had 15 inches in our neighborhood. But things don't seem to be getting any better. This is a complicated matter. We've got a lot of variables to it, but they need to be addressed so we can come to a long-term solution how to fix this. I don't know that everybody understands, but stormwater pumps through our neighborhood from Coast Guard Road into 2 retention ponds on either side of our pool clubhouse. From there, the water goes into our main pond, where it's evacuated to the sound through a pipe that runs under a lot, 416 Cape Emerald Loop. Over the past 6 years, SEMA board members have tried and worked really hard with the town, who's also worked really hard, to come to an agreement to relocate that pipe under that lot and put it underneath our boardwalk to the sound. We made a lot of progress, but the project never was completed, and we'd like to readdress it. While replacing that pipe alone will not solve our problems, we also deal with water that comes into our ponds or the retention ponds from Cape Emerald Emerald Isle Woods. But the main source of the flooding seems to still be coming from Coast Guard Road and through our stormwater pipe that goes through the middle of the neighborhood. And also, another factor is, although we can't control the water in Poe Sound, when the water evacuates through the pipe into the sound, we've got a flapper valve that the Public Works people installed on it when they corrected the chimney drain. I think it was 1.5 years ago. Well, when the tide is high, it keeps that water from flowing, so the water just keeps backing up into the pond, the main pond. There's not a lot we can do about that, and there's not a lot we can do about the water in Boat Sound, which is also, because of all the development over the years, the rivers are feeding the sound even more than they ever have. So high tide might last for a week after a storm like this. Bottom line is, the SEMA Board of Directors would like to meet with the town officials so that we can sit down and talk about these issues and how we can come to some solutions.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate all the help the town has given us. It's been trying at times, but everybody has been very cooperative and helpful. And other than that, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it.
All right, is anyone here that missed the sign-up sheet that has anything to say during public comment? Be happy to hear you now. All right, thank you. I'm sorry? Yeah, I'm happy. Okay. I'll tell you what, if you're here with us for a bit?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's save it for your comments or anybody else comment. That'd be great. I appreciate it. All right, item number 11 would be the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Commissioner Sawyer with the motion to accept the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept the consent agenda?
Matt, could you go over briefly some of these, some of these items on here for propane tanks, the contract?
All right, so we'll hold off on the motion. You got a question about the propane tanks contract, sir?
Yeah, just kind of like information on these items before we vote on it.
So our purchasing policy, we usually bring a contract before the board when it goes over $30,000. And we did some preliminary bid information on propane tanks. It's a FEMA 428 grant project. And so those numbers are estimated to come in right around $45,000 for the propane tanks. It's at 7 locations. And they're all at the permanent stormwater pumps that we applied for under the grant. And so in order to make sure that we're doing all that procurement compliance, we've gone ahead and advertised it. We're reaching out to minority businesses, trying to make sure that we've done enough solicitation. But we will follow the guidelines and go with the lowest responsible bidder. And so we would just like authorization to proceed instead of waiting until the next board meeting. So that's why that was put out there.
Okay, and can you explain to me what federal micro purchase thresholds are?
Yes, so that's similar, so this is kind of a long one, but when we have a federal grant, we have to abide by the most restrictive of the procurement rules. So you actually, it's almost like a cherry pick between the local, the state, and the federal. And $10,000 is a micro purchase threshold with the federal for, where we could select a responsible bidder. Say, for instance, we know that vendor A is always the cheapest, they're, reliable, we always can go to them. We would be able to do that under the federal guidelines if it's less than 10,000. But at the state level, we can go to 30,000. And so we have an annual recommended certification, as long as we're abiding by those state procurement requirements. That allows us to use 30,000 instead of 10, and it frees us up a little bit when we're doing these procurements.
Is that typical?
Yes, that's something that the School of Government had recommended, and we've been doing that for, I think this will be the 4th year. So it just kind of honestly frees up the process a little bit when you have to go out for that lengthy bid or those advertising processes. It does take a little bit longer in the process.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Get you what you need?
Yes, sir.
All right. I believe the motion was on the floor to accept the consent agenda by Commissioner Sawyer. Had 2 ayes?
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. Thank you, and thanks for the explanation.
Very helpful, thank you.
All right, item number 12 would be the consideration of town attorney contract with Carolina Law Group. Catch up on my papers here. A special meeting, July 29, 2024. The Maryland Isle Board of Commissioners voted to use Tommy Kellis and the Carolina Law Group for their town attorney services. You all should have received did receive a contract from the Carolina Law Group for their services. So I'm going to turn it over to the board for any needed discussion and a motion one way or the other.
I thought it looked good. I had one question, Tommy, if you would. $2,000 retainer, that's essentially 10 hours at $200 an hour. The first 10 hours are your regular monthly stuff, and then everything beyond that is at the hourly rate of $200 an hour?
That's correct, plus there's sort of the bonus sort of text messaging.
Yes, yes, 1 hour.
We'll give you 11 at that price.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That was my only question.
Sure, okay. Floor is still the board's.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay. Commissioner Wooten has a motion on the floor to approve the contract for town attorney Tommy Kellis and the Carolina Law Group as presented to the board. Motion is on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. Thank you. Item number 12, probably the smartest person in the room. Finance Director Laura Rochford will present for you guys the consideration of a full-time employee to assist planning and admin departments. So, take it away.
Thank you. I don't have a PowerPoint for this, but just a brief introduction, and you have the memo in the packet and a budget amendment. But during our budget process in the current fiscal year, our admin team got together and we reviewed our current staffing in our building, and we have a 20-hour part-time administrative position in the current budget, and that's what we're doing right now. And over the past several weeks, we've really reinforced the demand and seen the demand for a full-time team member at our front desk. And primarily, that person would be supporting the planning department. Currently, the majority of the walk-ins and calls are for the planning department. We have a fantastic person in that role right now. That's Tony Samarini. He's a retired fire and EMS employee, and he's doing a great job. He's gotten to know the planning processes, zoning, basic information, and so he's that basic service level information when you walk in, and he can kind of field out a lot of the issues before it goes to either Chris or Greg. And that's very helpful, especially if we have folks out on leave, conferences, or doing field work. So in the agenda packet, there is a budget amendment, and this would not be a cost increase. I think we can find savings actually in the legal department and then also in the police department, because we've seen some savings in the part-time staffing under the police department. And so we wanted to bring it to you for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And also Chris is here if you have any questions for the planning department.
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, I'll turn it back over to the board for any questions for Laura. Excuse me.
I had one question, Mayor.
Sure.
I saw, Chris, when you were doing your presentation that you were 36% increase for the year on this year coming in. So that's quite a large number to increase, and I can see where the help's needed. So this person that we're talking about is going to be working part-time up front, part-time planning board. So we're getting a full-time person, but they're going to be multitasking in both areas. Is that correct?
So our understanding is that person would remain up front. They do handle a lot of the Q&A with public on the customer service base. Make sure that myself and Greg receive completed applications for whatever project they're proposing. We process the detailed side of things as far as the permits. We go out, do site visits, we do code enforcement. That was actually the 36% increase. We've ramped up code enforcement to try to curtail some of the issues that.
So you're out, you're out in the field when this is going on 30% more of the time because of this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are on a daily basis, rain, I haven't sleeted yet, but rain or shine, we're out there doing site visits for trees, for natural area stakings, for stormwater concerns, for code enforcement concerns, general site visits, meeting with public on site. So we're just,
Thanks.
trying to be there for our citizens.
Yeah, sounds good. And Laura, one more question if you don't mind.
Sure.
Laura, I understand like if somebody's out or something sick too, or that person, say for Tony, he's out, then another full-time staff member has to fill that position in the job that you're normally doing. You would be now answering questions up front and taking away from the job that you're supposed to be doing.
That's right. And that's what we're doing right now, for the most part. And occasionally, if Tony has to be out, we'll call on some other team members that are part-time. For example, we'll call on some of the customer service reps from police department to fill in if we have to, if we know there's an extended leave. But yeah, if it's a shorter leave, we all just pitch in. Mm-hmm.
I understand. Thanks. That's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions for Laura or Chris?
Yeah, I had a question about the 20K savings. How was that calculated?
The saving, we had put in the budget right about 20,000 for the fiscal year for a part-time. So 1,000 hours and then with FICA.
No, I was thinking the savings for the law department, the town
legal.
attorney. How do we know we're going to come in 20K under the budget?
I can't guarantee that. So that's the honest answer. I can't guarantee that, but what I did, I based that on, we have a $78,000 budget, if I remember correctly, and the previous legal fees came in around 63. And so I'm hoping that we'll meet that. So, and that, you're right, that is, I could be wrong on that. And if we see, like, if we have a legal case or some issues where we have a lot more billing, I'll have to come before the board again, unfortunately.
My other question for Chris, does the town attorney have any role in that increase in the permits? Is there any increased legal time, or is it all just your department?
So primarily, it's our department unless it's just something that staff cannot answer. We have to weigh in with legal counsel if we're interpreting something correctly. We do bring in legal staff for Board of Adjustment meetings because that's a very complex review process, and the board has to make sure they follow that. But our involvement with legal is just limited unless it's necessary.
Okay. And what's the salary for this position?
It is, the minimum is $42,164 per pay plan.
Okay, and then like 38-ish% on top of that for benefits?
The benefits are actually, if you add it all in, so 26% for the FICA, the 401K and the retirement, and then we have our health insurance. With our health insurance per employee is right about $10,000 each. So it is a little bit higher.
Okay.
Yep.
Another question, I don't know who is the best to answer it. It jumped out at me, the 45,000, when we, in May, said we couldn't do the Beach Music Festival because we didn't have $45,000, but now we have $45,000 for this. And I'm sure to get the question when we walk out there, so how would you field that? A different pot of money or?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have an answer at the moment, I guess, because time has changed. We've already made that decision and you know, we're at a new point in time.
I'll take
I'm not
it.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that.
So in the budgetary process, there was a conversation of, did you want to continue with Beach Music Festival or not? And you voted to eradicate that or take it out of the budget. So we rolled that back. You reallocated those dollars in the budget between the January board meeting and the execution, which would have been in June. You also had a change of legal, which you had a different attorney on June 12th, and then they resigned on June 13th, and you have a proposed savings there. So it's ultimately permit-driven. It's based on who you've hired, and if you would like to support that position as full-time, we can or can't. You can either make a decision today, you could push it down to next month, or you could just leave it as is. We can just explain to you the volume that is being held up front is substantially greater today than it was 12 months ago. And so by trying to balance your budget, we made as many cuts as possible. So the only other option that I would like to say to the board is we're trying very hard to meet your expectation of customer delivery of assisting permits at the front. We've tried to digitize that process. We put in a new computer, which was a recycled computer. We've made a station up front. Jen is currently working 2 days a week at the front desk in addition to being the town clerk and the HR director. I'm also doing all the permits and inspections in the field in Chris's absence. So I'm doing my inspections before 8 a.m. and after 5 p.m. to meet those obligations. So for example, when Chris was on vacation, I did all the field site visits. So it's okay staying in the same model. I just want to be very clear with the board that if you get feedback that we're a little bit delayed, that's okay. We just have to explain why. And it's okay either way. We don't have a preference.
Okay, my last question, I promise,
Sure.
was, is there any way to do it with 2 part-time positions? Could it be replicate the same part-time person and get another part-time person? Maybe somebody that's retired and has that kind of experience and is looking for something to do. We'll get more diversity and experience and save a couple bucks on.
We've already tried that. It's extremely hard. We were trying to maintain Tony Samarini in the role. In fact, Tony was willing to potentially come out of retirement until he spoke to his family, and they would like him to stay at 20 hours a week. The problem becomes when it's lunch break, when it's somebody's out sick, everybody's trying to valiantly cover the front desk. So we've already tried the 2 part-timers. We've tried to shift that. And when the board made the decision to reduce anything associated with tree permits, that reduced our income so much so that we let Artie Dunn go, who had been with us for 34 years. So Artie was the other part-timer that was trying to cover the front. So we're in a position that if there's anyone highly skilled and interested in that area, we absolutely would love to talk to him or her. We think that at this point, it's even going to be difficult to find a full-time person at that salary range in the island because you can make more in the service industry almost by a factor of 2x. So that's a conversation that we've had. We're not sure that this is the right solution because trying to find somebody at $42,000 to be on island is not really there. So to Commissioner Wooten's point, if there's anyone else that's currently retired, we are a great group of people. Bob, Betty, we're looking for you. We'll make great lunches, but we are looking for those people that would be highly interested to help us. The information is extremely complex, and you're dealing with a lot of variance in that your expectation from the person that answers the telephone is that they're going to be there before 8. They're going to know what day the trash is collected, which day white goods is collected, where those are taken, how to take those phone calls, what side setbacks are, rear setbacks, tree permits, flood ranges. So the amount of information, and I'll let Jen speak to it for just a second, being a newer team member Can you give your experience covering the 2 full days a week that you're currently covering?
It's difficult to juggle everything. You know, clerking and HRing, that's a full-time position in and of it, 2 full-time positions in and of itself. And so I'm up there, every time Tony goes to lunch and on Mondays and Fridays. It is a lot of information up there in the planning department that you're expected to know, and then you want to help filter Chris and Greg's, volume that they deal with right now is so large. You want to filter as much as you can before you have to, give it to them. And so, yeah, it is difficult to find part-time people who can deliver that level of knowledge.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all. You have any other questions, sir?
No, I'm
Okay,
good.
I just want to make sure. Didn't skip it.
I want to talk to the board for a minute.
Excuse me.
If I open up in the mornings and I understaff my restaurant, 2 things are going to happen. Customer service goes down, and I'm overworking my employees. And the one thing I've learned in 10 years in business, if you overwork your employees and you stress them, you lose good employees. I've been up there during the day. I've seen the hard work these guys do. And I know this board also, we kind of sometimes in emails and stuff go over and beyond to stack stuff on top of them with the stuff that they've already got going on. I mean, I've seen, I know these guys have been scrambling on Sundays trying to answer emails from this board. So I say if they need an extra person up there, which they obviously do, then we give it to them. Because if not, we're going to lose good people like Jen. When she's doing 3 jobs, she's only getting paid to do 1. So I'm all for it.
I'm with you. I'd just like to spend a little bit more time and think about exactly how it is that we would pay for it. Saving 20K here and 25K there sounds good, but I don't know that we have a basis for making that assumption. So I would just as soon have a little bit more conversation about it and bring it back, come back to it next month would be my preference.
My preference is I don't want to see us lose good people over the next month because they're getting overworked. That's just my 2 cents.
Laura, how much would, with the 26% FICA and the 401K benefits, and I guess 401K is going toward a pension, how much more is that? So what's the total cost impact of this on the budget?
So total is $63,000 for a position like that with all the benefits. That's a full year budget figure that we could use for that salaries.
And that's going to give our citizens better customer service, faster permit times, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have people start having to wait longer for permits, then we're going to be getting those complaints. So
Now, and I've seen, I've been in Chris's shoes. I'm a former planner and building inspector and zoning administrator, floodplain. I've done everything he's doing, and I can empathize, and I know how much work he's under. He's under a lot of duress, a lot of stress for this job, and he's doing a really good job. What he has to work with is some part-time help. However, I do also, I'd like, I was charged to be fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money. I don't know about the other commissioners, but I didn't find out about this request until just when I got the agenda package. There was no discussion about it. I went, oh, we want to add another employee. I didn't know about that. Based with that information alone, I would like to have some time, like Commissioner Wood was saying, to discuss the position, because I do support it, but I want to make sure that we can fund this without impacting taxpayers and I'd also like to have the people have a say-so on, it's their level of service that they want, that they expect, and it's their tax-paying money. I'd like for them to have input on it also. So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, but I do know that Chris, it's a very difficult position, and he could certainly use some help.
And I just wanted to follow up with one comment that the way we do have it is we're finding cost savings in other departments. So we're not doing an ad, but we're trying to find savings in other departments. So just one comment, just to make sure that was clear. So thank you.
Oh, can I talk?
Sure.
You know, with Laura and the way I've worked with you now 6 or 7 years, and when you look at the budget and you say you can find, the money's there and you can do it, you know, I trust this lady 110% with the way that she manages our town. She wins these awards all the time with the way she levels everything off. And I think if we wait another 30 days, there's a possibility that things, you know, like losing great employees and stuff. And I think the stress on the town, and I've lived through the part where they say it's taken 3 or 4 weeks to get an inspection done or something happens. And I don't want to go back to that again. I don't want to be in those shoes again when somebody's waiting for something to happen. And if 36% you're out in the field and you're out there 30% or more of the time, and you're coming to us and saying, hey, we're stressed, we need help, then I'm in support of moving forward with this tonight. You know, I want you to be comfortable. I want you to enjoy your job, but I want the citizens to be able to have the ability to get their inspections and stuff done as they need to get done. So I'm in favor of it.
Mr. Mayor? I don't disagree with Mr. Brownlow that we wanted to take a good look at it. The only thing I can say to you, without violating HIPAA, we do have a full-time employee that's going out on extended leave that will greatly impact the process and flow in the planning department. And what we were trying to do was we tried to locate 2 part-time people was our first solution. We also tried to find somebody that would be able to come in part-time for that 6 to 8 week period, which we anticipate to be October and November. We were unsuccessful there. Then we went back to the process of the person that you know, which is Mr. Samarini, does an extremely good job. We had an intern in the summer that was aiding us and assisting us at a very low cost, and he's now gone back to school, as have the other lifeguards. And so, unfortunately, we've exhausted most of our local option. What we do want you to be aware that there is a long-term planned medical leave coming that will directly and dramatically impact the flow of operations, and we just want you to be aware of that.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of conversation I'd like to have before voting on spending them, creating a new position. I'm totally for helping folks out. Sounds like we have a need. I just like to talk more about exactly how it's going to work.
Yeah, I think if I'd have had more time to discuss this with staff, with Laura and with Matt and with Chris and stuff, I'm sure I'd be supportive of it because I know we could find a budgeting solution for it, but and I'm not saying I don't trust you, Laura. I mean, I know you're the wizard when it comes to the numbers. You're awesome. You win that award every year, and that's fantastic. Love you for it. But I'd just like to be more informed about these kind of decisions. This is huge for the town, and it's a big move, and I do support it, but I'd like to be more informed about it.
Well, we've got them right here. Let's have the conversation.
So on that, let me readdress, this isn't a new position. This is just filling a position we've held with part-time staff for over 2 years. This position had been full-time for a very long time. So what we have done is tried to hold costs. We've tried to hold the line. We're trying to predict volumes that are coming up and down. So everybody had stated after COVID, this is the COVID bump. I will be the first and repeat to tell you, this is not the COVID bump. This is the Emerald Isle new normal. And so we were trying to be so fiscally responsible over the last 2 budget cycles that we have been operating with people in part-time roles in that position. I'll say to you this, if you want to go to a model where you have a workshop, we're not sure how else to communicate this data to you in a timely manner with everybody receiving the data. So if you would like to see us do something different, we're open. We'll do whatever you want. But presenting it to you in this form is the proper way to do it. So we're not sure how else to get it to you earlier, but we want to answer any questions that you have. If you feel comfortable tonight, make a decision. If you don't, it's okay to us too. We work for you, so we're just trying to figure out how to help you get to that point to receive the data, consume the data, have your open public comment.
I guess it's just what I do. I support staff. I support my staff, the staff of the town. I know right now I wouldn't be anywhere without staff. I'd be shut down. I have talked to Matt. I've talked to Laura. I know you guys need it. So I'll go ahead and put the motion out there. I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment.
All right. Commissioner Sawyer has a motion on the floor to approve the budget amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Y'all gotta stop doing this to me, man.
Your decision, Mayor.
I was, well, I guess, I don't know if I can speak now or not since it's under a vote, but
Go ahead.
I was gonna make a motion to table this until Chris can hang on 30 more days. Just so I can have some time to think of the right questions to ask and look into it some more.
I would really have loved for Commissioner Sanderson to be here tonight. I feel like that's a decision that a lot of people to my left and right normally should make. So unless I'm mistaken, I'm not going to cast a vote. And I know what my vote, my no vote, or I know what the absence of my vote means, but for the record, I am not casting a vote.
All right, well, in that case, I'll withdraw my motion to approve the budget amendment until next meeting, and we will just take care of it there with Commissioner Sanders in the room. And that way, the people who are under pressure to make the decision are all here to make it together. So we'll do that right there, and we'll just continue this discussion next month, and then everybody can ask the questions that they need to ask.
And Mayor and Board, if you have any questions of us, we'll gladly meet with you, sit down, 2-on-1, 1-on-1, as we
Take
will
you up on
always.
that, yes.
That'd be great.
But you just let us know when that will be.
Motion is on the floor to table the conversation to a later date by Commissioner Sawyer. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion is carried. My ask of staff and the board, in the name of the need, which I do identify and I do agree with very much the need. I trust our staff, I trust our manager and our finance director 110%. That being said, I don't want to be the one to make the call one way or the other. I'll go on record and say, and I think that it is needed. And I really, really hope you get it. My ask of the board is to directly communicate as soon as humanly possible what information you need from staff to make a decision one way or the other. And I will also ask, once you have that information and you feel confident that you can make a decision one way or the other, I know it's an inconvenience at sometimes, but everything getting scheduled and everything getting easy, that once you all feel like you have enough information to make a decision one way or the other, we call a 10-minute special meeting, get it done or don't get it done so that our staff can plan accordingly. Thank you.
Sounds good, thanks.
Item number 14, be a discussion pertaining to feather flag regulations in the Emerald Isle UDO. My notes indicate this particular agenda item was requested to be on the agenda by Commissioner Brownlow, so I'll let you lead the discussion, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, there was this discussion going on an email thread or something about this, and it was getting dangerously close to almost being a talking business on an email type thing. So I said, let's just take this to the commissioners meeting. And the question was either enforce what's in the books, or this was coming from staff, enforce what's in the books, or take it out or something, or change the ordinance or something. I'm not even sure what's going on, what drove this or what's going on. So here we are.
I can address it, Mayor, would you like me to?
Sure.
So the planning staff documented 15 violations with feather flags flying at various locations of businesses across Emerald Isle. In the past, we were under the direction that feather flags were considered to be illegal, and they are illegal in the current UDO. The town staff has told, and if I'm speaking out of line, I would love for Chris to correct me, but the town staff on multiple occasions, both Chris, I think Greg, myself, have had to indicate or tell transient merchants or satellite merchants at food trucks that they weren't permitted to have what we consider to be a flying or a feather flag. Those feather flags are now lining Emerald Drive, and you'll see them promoting open, promoting lunch, promoting shrimp, promoting all kinds of things. The previous boards had been very clear that, others' words, not mine, that that is more Myrtle Beach-like, and that we as a family beach didn't want to see those types of signs and flags in position. Commissioner Taylor can address that too. If you want us to allow those signs for us to be able to do that, we would need a change in the respective section of the UDO that was emailed to the board. We're just looking for guidance. If you want it to remain, we will enforce. If you want it to be changed, we wanted to bring it to your attention that you may want to put that as a topic of discussion and potentially kick it to the planning board to start, but it's really a decision that ultimately was coming from the 5 elected board members to enforce or to not enforce, specifically feather flags, which are usually stuck in the ground and then waved back and forth. Our ordinance calls out oscillating, illuminated. There's a whole bunch of signs that are not EI approved, again, which is why you do not see electronic or Daktronic style signs on the Welcome to Emerald Isle area, although we have people ask about that all the time. The question today on the floor for the board is specifically the rampant increase of feather flag usage in our dominant corridor, which is visible to all, and some people are calling us, asking us why we're not enforcing. So the question to the board is, do you want to permit them to continue, or do you want to change the ordinance and allow them in perpetuity? And I'll let Chris speak to it.
Yeah, and essentially what led to this, staff has been working with business owners to try to curtail this. We'd have the conversation, they'd willingly remove them, and then they see someone over the weekend or some of these other ones that we have not gotten to, pop them up, and it's just, it's like a cancer in a way. It's just very abundant, and we're just trying to make sure that we are enforcing the code appropriately. If there is any desire to adjust the code, that is where you guys instruct us. But if the intent is for staff to enforce it, we will. But that's just what we were just inquiring about and just making sure that we're on the right track for that.
Are there folks that, like you said, hey, can you take that down? And they just said, no, I won't take it down?
Yes.
Yes, that's a problem.
And they point out to other violators or realty companies that put it up over the weekend, stuff like that.
Does the ordinance specifically address the word feather flags? Is that specifically what it is, or is it a broader definition?
It's a wind-activated device is wind-activated flag is what they call it.
Can you give an example besides the open and close? I mean, that's like a business flag. Is there any other type of flags?
So open, close, we've seen, like the town manager stated, shrimp, we've seen pizza, we've seen lunch now available, we've seen rent me. We've seen feather flags on some of these, as I stated in the email, all-terrain style vehicles. But our code says specifically, even if it's on wheels, it is not permitted by our code.
Does it have to have a language on it? Or for instance, if someone puts a Marine Corps flag, a business puts a Marine Corps flag up, is that a violation?
No, that's considered a non-advertising content. So anything specific on advertising for the business, that falls into our code. The non-advertising aspect does not. So if someone wanted to have their American flag, it is certainly permissible. There's no code violations for that.
So pretty much these flags are, and I'll give a prime example because I tried to get away with it. I'm going to be honest. This was before I was a commissioner. But I did sushi a while back at the Village Market, and I threw a sushi sign out there, and I think it took me about 30 minutes to get an email saying my sushi sign wasn't supposed to be out there, and I went and took it down. Here's the problem. If you let people do it for commercial use, I want you to picture driving down Emerald Drive and every business you pass. This would, if we allow it, you're allowing everybody in the shopping center to put a flag out. It's going to look like a parade when you drive down Emerald Drive. And there's nobody that benefits up here more from feather flags than I do. And I really don't agree with them. I think they're going to clutter up Emerald Isle. I don't think they're very visually appealing. The only person they're visually appealing to is the commercial business that's going to profit off of them. And, you know, I would like to see something eventually in our UDO for nonprofits, for advertisement, fishing tournament, fishing with a cure, bike the banks, stuff like that to promote stuff, just to let people know, hey, we've got something going on that's for a good cause for maybe a 2-week period before an event. But every day, all day, feather flags across Emerald Isle, I guarantee you no one's going to like the look of it. It's not going to be visually appealing at all.
So we already have something that we can enforce now, but it sounds like it, with nonprofits, if they're included in that, but maybe we should allow those on like a permit type basis for like the duration of an event or something. Maybe we should have the planning board revisit this. But, so it looks like we have something on the books we can enforce now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. The only thing that pops in my mind is, especially in the off-season, when restaurants aren't open on some days, and having a flag that says they are open actually helps me, because I can't remember what day it is or whether they're open or not. That's kind of in the gray area, but I'm going to follow your lead, Josh. I don't want to see, I'm with you, I don't want to see those finger flags all over the place. But it might be something the planning board's best equipped to take a look at.
Yeah. Like I say, I think letting people know that a good cause is happening, like the banks, Fishing for a Cure.
Yep.
You know, I'd like to see them, you know, this year for those things. I think they're good, they're visually appealing, and it's not saying, hey, they're going to be here every day, but, you know, 2 weeks before an event, a nonprofit event for a good cause can go out and put those signs up and let everybody know what's going on.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Chris?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you said that sometimes people don't want to put the flag right back up or won't take it down. What's I know the regulation, how does that work in the sense that can the town just take, if it's in the right of way, can the town take the flag and haul it off, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, our code is very specific. If there's any sign in the right of way, yes, it can be removed by staff. Typically what we do is we take a picture of it before we remove it. That way we have evidence on where it was at, why we removed it and whatnot. As far as on private property, I have not seen anywhere, I'm not saying the code doesn't say we can remove those temporary flags, but my preference is that we work it out with the business owner.
Yeah, I'm talking more right away kind of issues.
Yeah, the right of way is, it's very specific in our code that any signs in the right of way can't be removed by staff. It says that specifically in our code.
Because I've actually seen them before where if you pull out, sometimes the flag's flapping in the wind, and sometimes they're actually blocking the traffic, you know, comes to a point like that.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to make sure you have the authority, and I guess I could ask legal that, if it's in the right of way, they have full authority to remove that for a safety concern. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I believe when I looked at it earlier this morning, it does give the town the authority in the right of way.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe that's the first step.
I'm sorry. I have one quick question before if you guys will allow me. Chris, right-of-way excluded on business property, there is an ordinance in place that prohibits wind-activated flags. We'll call it what it is in the ordinance. Right-of-way excluded pertaining to the wind-activated flag that they're discussing. What, if anything, in the UDO now, as far as enforcement goes on the private property, that's something that's against the ordinance? Is there a request to remove? Is there a fine for noncompliance? Can you help the board, if they don't already know, understand that, sir?
So anytime we find a violation, we send a notice of violation to the property owner. It is up to the property owner, if they're releasing that portion of their property or whatnot, to make arrangements for compliance with our code. If after the usual 30-day period of receipt of a notice of violation takes place and they do not comply, then we can follow up with fines that do increase on a daily basis as long as those violations continue. We can pursue the court system to require it to be removed and then compensate the town for whatever fines that accumulate.
Okay.
So there's different versions to.
There's an enforceable ordinance.
Correct.
There is a course of action for staff, and there are ramifications for noncompliance.
Yes, sir.
Written in the book.
Written in the code.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
That's all I have. Board have any other questions for staff?
No, but do we want to have a little bit more of a discussion? I mean, is this something that y'all think really needs to go to the planning department? I mean, we've got a UDO on the books, enforce the flags. Do we want to make an amendment to that UDO and say that nonprofits, you know, the town of Emerald Isle, can throw up some feather flags to let people know of events, but just to keep it away from commercial use?
Yes, but I'm always loath to make edits on the fly to a UDO because it never translates exactly the way, you know, it sounds great when I say it, and the planning board is the place for them to get exactly the right words in exactly the right order. I think from an enforcement perspective, I could say, maybe take that into consideration, whether it's for a nonprofit or something like that while you're in this meantime, but in the meantime, also have the planning board look at a carve out for not-for-profits or nonprofits or charities or think, whatever the right words are.
Okay.
That's what I would think.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
It seems like there's a two-part to this discussion. It's not up to me, just observing. There's two parts. One, it seems like there is the potential for the planning board to be asked to review the sign ordinance as it pertains to wind-activated flags and nonprofits, duration of time to be determined. So there's a potential to have the planning board review that part of it. And then there's also not the potential, but what I view or perceive as an ask from staff. If we're not going to change it, if you're not going to change it and you're not going to recommend an amendment, by their job titles and definitions, they enforce it. They take a lot of stuff on the chin that we never hear about, but they're enforcing the rules that the Board of Commissioners has put into place. So it seems to me they're asking you, hey, do you want me to enforce it? Do you not want me to enforce it? If you want me to enforce it, they will enforce it, but they need your support.
It's my vote to enforce it.
Okay.
It's mine, enforce the current rules.
Okay, so by a show of hands, I don't think we need a motion to enforce or to direct staff to enforce something we've already done. By a show of hands, does anybody up here, any board member up here, have an issue with staff enforcing the currently written ordinance? And does anyone up here, by show of hands, have any issues supporting staff while they do that?
I'm good with it.
Okay, do anybody have an issue?
No issues. No issues at all.
I see no hands.
I do, you know, advise to use discretion. Anytime you're charged with a regulatory authority, a certain amount of discretion is you know, use wisdom. But, I mean, obviously, if you're giving people warnings and they ignore it blatantly, I mean, yeah, slap them with fines if that's the case.
Okay.
But I like the Mayberry, Andy Griffith approach, you know, go up there and talk to them. If they didn't know and they comply, that's great. If they thumb their nose at you and reject the verbal warning, do what you have to do. But so I mean, that's the way it is. You know, I've been in regulatory all my career, and it's discretion will get you a long ways. You know, so.
And I want to point out we worked with Mark Cruz to put together just media information that he's going to push out. We also have a one-sheeter with our rules that we're going to try to get out to each of these businesses, just to make sure they understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. So.
Thank you.
I think it's very good to do an information campaign. Excellent.
And thank you all for that. Thank you for the healthy discussion. Thank you for your commitment to support the staff as they enforce the ordinances that you all essentially write. That leaves the potential for, I like the idea of a planning board review. It's not up to me, I'm gonna leave it up to you, but the part two of this is, there was discussion of potentially allowing wind-activated flags or something different for nonprofits, time, duration, size, whatever to be determined. That would take a motion from one of you and a positive vote to request that the.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we have the planning board review the wind-activated sign ordinances for nonprofit event and special events.
Thank you. Commissioner Brownlow has that motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to item number 15, comments from the town clerk. Thank you. Mr. Callis, our new town attorney, welcome. First and foremost, have any comments, sir?
No comments, thank you.
Thank you. Matt?
Like us to address the water flow in Cape Emerald?
Floor is yours, sir. Chip, I forgot your last name. That's why you're still here. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your patience.
I'm glad you repeated that. I didn't get that part.
So we brought up, we're going to bring up a map really quick, and I know Chip's probably fully aware of this, but for the other people in the room, I've made some notes here. For the current board, I'm going to send you Mayor Holland's letter that's probably 2 years old now, that Mayor Holland sent to the Cape Emerald Board. Like I said, it was 1.5 years or 2 years ago. And then also want to remind everybody in the room that we had approximately $130,000 allocated to a project at Cape Emerald, but couldn't move it forward because both the Cape Emerald Board and our board were lacking the authority and signature of 2 property owners that have a pipe that runs on private property in Cape Emerald. This board took away those funds, so those funds have been reallocated to additional parks and recreation repairs. I just want to remind everybody that the Cape Emerald funds were there and held for almost 3 years, and it was pulled back. Is that correct? So I think what Joe and I were looking at is there was a statement made about water being pumped into Cape Emerald, and unless I'm mistaken, 100% of the water that flows through the Cape Emerald pipe on a joint agreement that we have worked out on multiple occasions, there's more than one contract in position, all of that water is 100% gravity flow. Is that correct, Joe? All the forced main pumped water, which we digitized this map in the last 60 months, all the forced main water goes into the 2 large areas. You'll see the two ponds, and those 2 ponds are inside of, or those 2 large wetland areas are inside Emerald Isle Woods. So currently, there's approximately 272 million gallons of water being pumped from Land's End into Emerald Isle Woods. Laura and I have worked diligently with the remainder of staff, applied for and have been allocated federal grant funds to remove that water flow that's currently being pumped, reverse those pumps, and pump that water, what would be southbound, to the Atlantic Ocean, and it would be ran through what's called dune infiltration. So even part of the solution that would benefit Cape Emerald is being worked out with the Land's End group, and we have easement agreements in position. Engineers are on the ground today. Another set of engineers are set to come back in the next 10 days, and we are working through the modernization of the private system inside of Land's End, which then would help us defease up to a little bit north of 250,000 gallons of water a year from Emerald Isle Woods. That will simultaneously benefit the folks that live west of EI Woods or in Cape Emerald, because that's where the water then is regulated. So there's, like Chip has indicated, he's been very helpful. We're communicating nonstop with his team. But the water that's flowing through Cape Emerald is contributory from other areas in a gravity flow system. And again, having all this mapped, the investments we've made in the last 36 months into new equipment, training of our staff, we have cleaned those lines. We cleaned the lines on 2 occasions since 2019, all the lines that flow up in and through Cape Emerald. Is that correct, Joe? So what we're talking about is the equalization pond, which is the northernmost pond in Cape Emerald, was an aggregated flow of the numbers that Chip talked about. And if I'm, Chip, did you mention that you recorded locally almost 15 inches or 15 inches in Cape Emerald? And so they're not just dealing with the Cape Emerald water. In their fairness, they're taking water that's transient from other sections of town. So we, the previous board and staff, were working diligently to try to figure out how to do improvements. And we're still on go for that. I was physically in Cape Emerald Friday, Saturday, well, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, as Chad and I were monitoring all those flows. And we make sure that the water doesn't crest. I also want the rest of the public to know that we rented a 6-inch pump, and that pump is large, but the orifice that exits at 416 Cape Emerald is how many inches? That's an 18 or 20? It's large. That one was wide open. I also have video footage of that. So the reason that we were really careful with the pump is that we didn't have in stock what are called road ramps. And without a road ramp in position, we had to place a human being, and we only had 8 of us, 24 hours a day to turn the pump on and off if somebody drove down the street. We were able to locate after calling everywhere. Our staff called, we've called all the other adjoining fire departments. You have to imagine, during a disaster, right, all the material evaporates. My verbal to Joe, my verbal to Chad was on Saturday, on Monday morning, we will be ordering new road ramps, so we won't have this problem again. So I want you to know that that has happened. Secondarily, Chad was working around the clock, but he and other Joe, which was little Joe, younger Joe, were here, and we were all working and pumping together simultaneously. But I have to applaud Joe Smith, his team, Chip, we're all working in unison, but I want to refresh everybody. You're talking about $130,000 to $150,000 pipe relocation to move it off of a person's private lot that we didn't install, move it approximately 70 feet due east into the Cape Emerald walkway, which is a community-owned property. You're gonna have to dig up their walkway, run the pipe and exit it just a few feet different to get it off of somebody else's yard. That's not going to increase the flow of water. We worked with Shellfish Sanitation, DEQ, we worked with everyone. We exhaustively went through this. The reality is there was a breach in the pipe. We fixed that pipe. Joe and his team did that in-house, saved us about $20,000. And this isn't meant to be humorous, y'all. The last time it blocked up, 2 turtles blocked the pipe because they were mating inside the pipe, and that's what shut off the water flow. We cannot make this up. We respond to it in the middle of the night, first in the morning, we're there, and that team has been tremendous on the recipient side, which is the residential side, of trying to find a solution. But I want to verbally, unless something shifts, until the 2 property owners, the one that the pipe is on, gives us permission and signs off on a waiver indemnifying the town of Emerald Isle from any future liabilities to resolve a problem that we didn't create, and the property owner that we need a temporary construction easement which currently abuts and adjoins your public walkway, until those 2 signatures are in hand, we are literally hand-tied and cannot help. Legally, the Cape Emerald HOA has an addendum and authority to go in and do that work. The city does not. We even offered to try to create a grant system that would have flowed the money to Cape Emerald. We've now worked with 4 different HOA presidents to try to let them manage the project. And I'm not putting anybody on the spot. The response was, well, that's not your expertise. So we're willing and standing by just so everyone here hears it all exactly the same. We had a plan, we had a design, we had the money held, couldn't secure the 2 signatures. So I will forward you all that information electronically. Is there any questions that you as the elected officials entrusted to this, to field a question from a Cape Emerald resident would like to ask? We have it. It's all mapped. We'll gladly answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions for Matt?
You know,
Or hard ones for Joe.
now of course, this is all kind of new. I mean, I've been aware of this, but never intimately involved with it. I've always known there was a flooding issue going on in Cape Emerald, Land's End, and all throughout Emerald Isle. I'm very aware of numerous flooding areas. But this, being involved now, I mean, I'd like to sit down with the HOA and town officials and discuss the situation, possible options, and just really, I mean, just throw all kinds of stuff on the wall and let's just see what sticks, what doesn't, what's legal, what can't be done, what can we do, what can we not do. And I would like to explore that further. I mean, just for my own edification, if nothing else, because I wasn't privy to all that information before.
Yeah, we can gladly give it to you. Two different legal teams, including Richard Stanley, exhaustively reviewed it all. Worked in cooperation with the HOA team. There was multiple commissioners. We've had tremendous.
I know it's not.
We'll give you all the information.
I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel
Yeah.
either, but just like I said, it's just kind of what's up and explore. Just, I mean,
it ultimately,
alternatives like bioretention areas. Would the association be willing to pay to the town to have those pipes moved? And are there FEMA grants available now that there weren't before? I don't know.
so I can answer every one of those for you now. We exhaustively looked at all the grant options, and we had the grant dollars held to reallocate it. We were using ARPA funds to move that pipe. This is a private system inside a private subdivision with private roads. So the allocation for federal grants is not going to be necessarily available. We have worked with, again, the biggest concern was shellfish sanitation, and we ran multiple calculations to try to upsize the pipe. They're worried about point source discharge into Bogue Sound. So water quality, human life, the fact that those homes that are now waterfront, it really, the ultimate crux of the problem is, it's a private pipe on private property with no drainage easement. And the city had spent north of $15,000 making repairs on that private property and replanting vegetation at 416 Cape Emerald. And we have documentation of all of that. We got into a position where the board said we can't continue to go in and try to repair a broken pipe, and we can't keep revegetating and landscaping someone's private yard. We have to find an alternative solution. The solution is there. The estimate dollar amount is there. It really is a conversation between the two parties. Once they come to agreement and give authorization, I'm of confidence that the town would step back in to assist, but I wanted to be clear to this board that you have no funds to the side for that project. And again, each of the respective and multiple time board members, we had a two-time president, we had poor Jim Berger, he did so well the first time, they brought him back again. And he's been great to work with too. We'll gladly answer any other questions, but I'm not sure there's more data that the HOA board can share with you. And if you want, we can have it.
I can tell you that one of the property owners that lived beside the boardwalk has moved, and the new owners have given us indication they're very willing to work with us.
It'd be tremendous.
So that leaves the other property. Now, that's why I want to get together, because our bylaws say that we have the right to go onto a property to correct the situation for the betterment of the neighborhood. And so there's options I think we have in order to, correct the problem. But like I said earlier, it's not just the pipe itself. I mean, the sad part is the pipe goes out, it goes to the right, and it goes to the, and that's a whole nother fish that we found out a lot about when we investigated this. But the bottom line is, the pipe will help, but it's not the end-all, be-all, and we recognize that. I think we're more concerned about the retention ponds and the water that comes in from the Emerald Woods.
So the good news there is that we have that $800,000+ project that is in its final throes of permitting, and that they're doing the final reads to try to get that out to bid. Our goal is to try to get that project in construction and completed in 2025 to completion, and that will help a dramatic amount of water flow that's making its way into EI Wood. So this was a 5 to 7 pronged solution. What Chip is indicating is the pipe came out of the pond, and this is important for everybody that's technical. It used to go straight. Then somebody developed 416, and to develop 416, it dog-legged right with a 90 and dog-leg left again.
Was it 34 years ago, or something like that? And
But they developed a lot, and if you do anything in sanitary or stormwater work, 90s are bad. They're not good. Straight is good, and you need 0.5% of flow in a sanitary system and/or in a drainage application.
And that lot couldn't be developed with that pipe right through the middle of it, so
Somebody moved it.
somebody moved it.
Is Cape Emerald on a sewer system, or is it a private?
We have
on-site?
septic and sewer. I'd say probably, John, you know better than me, maybe half of our residents are on our private sewer that is on our property next to ours, the CRDA owns.
What about the Soundfront properties?
Soundfront properties, I couldn't tell you. We can find that information out and get that to you.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to what.
But I'm pretty, I would
are.
imagine those properties, because years ago, Soundfront properties were Cape Emerald Loop, and they were up on a hill overlooking the sound and the marsh. So those properties were developed, that pond was put in, that road was built. So to answer the question, I don't believe the CRDA came into existence until 91, I believe, when the sewer plant was built. So I can't answer, but that's a good point. If the more flooding that area gets, if it's septic, that's a big problem. So I would imagine they're on the sewer, although I can't say. Yeah, we can find out. Yeah.
So I think a takeaway for this and the question would be, does this board as a whole, would you like to meet with the Cape Emerald Board? And if so, that's a special meeting, we would have to call it. We're looking for your guidance as to next steps.
I'm willing to meet as an individual. I mean, whether that needs the whole board or not, I can come back and report to the board, or the board wants to get in on it. I have no problem with that either. What would you guys like?
We would like commissioners, Matt knows all the history, he can come in as if he'd like, but we would really like the commissioners, along with our board members who have been around. Some of you are new, and I think the more people we have in the room, the less we'll have to re-explain things down the road to others. So it would be great if our board and the commission could get together. Matt, perhaps we could do it at our clubhouse and we could give you a little tour.
Maybe do it coincident with one of the new stormwater committee meetings, because it's prime for that topic.
That
It
would
might
be
be able
awesome.
to get everybody up to speed all at once with one meeting.
That would be awesome.
I'll just to interject there, not trying to make a meeting lighter or make less attendees on a meeting. If Commissioner Brownlow wants to meet with the HOA, Commissioner Brownlow and Commissioner Wooten or Sawyer, or and a member of staff and myself, because I'm a non-voting member, for legal reasons, it'd be against the law for 3 voting commissioners to meet with you guys without notice, 48-hour notice of a special meeting. That being said, if the board wishes to hold a special meeting, it's advertised, we can do it all out in the open and talk all we want to. Another option would be for a member or members of staff, myself, and up to 2 commissioners at a time, potentially 2 commissioners that don't have the background that maybe a longer sitting commissioner does have, because they might be going through the same thing over and over, but the opportunity is there regardless, one way or the other, for any commissioners that don't have all this data or would like more opportunity to discuss this data. So just we can do it either way, just it can be done one way this way, and if we want to do it the other way, it has to be that way.
Mayor, I have a question too, just
Yes.
a quick thing, just talking about, like, I have dealt with this for a while, and I'm sorry about the signature issue y'all having. It's great to hear that this one person's probably going to maybe sign up a little bit. But at the spot that we're at right now, it might be, if you think you can get this guy's signature, maybe we can have our document from our legal team to give it to their HO and provide this signature, get this signature taken care of, and also reach out to the other guy again and get it notarized, whatever needs to be, make it completely legal. But if your board can start working on those 2 people, that seems like that's been the stopping problem 3 years ago, is these 2 people won't want to work with anybody. And if your board can work with these people and we give you the legal documentation and get it signed, then we can start finding the funds again and get this rolling again. But if this is what happened, and we're just kind of like spinning our wheels. Without the signatures, nothing's going to happen, bottom line. So I don't care if we have 100 meetings, it's not going to matter until we get this happen.
Yeah, but the pipe is really just a small part of it, quite frankly.
Okay.
The bigger part is the Emerald Woods, and the pipe is a part of it, but that's why I really think there's so many variables to this that it would be best to have a meeting and a discussion. We had one of those in the town meeting hall across the street where we had commissioners, board members, the lawyer at the time. I think Richard was still, that was the day he retired, I believe. But long story short, there's so many things that are part of this. I think a meeting is required.
All right, educational, I understand that. But, I mean, if half of the rest of the board talking to them, I think that might be a good step too, they have the documentation and have the paperwork that you might need. And as you talk with these people and your neighbors to neighbors out there, maybe you can come up with those signatures, because that's a huge step for this whole thing to move.
And Matt, it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the dune infiltration system at Land's End, and that's where a lot of that stormwater was coming from into Emerald Woods, is going to remedy or at least alleviate a significant portion of the problem in Cape Emerald with due to flooding of the ponds at Cape and Emerald Woods. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So the second that you can turn the dune infiltration system on and stop pumping that 272 million gallons up Coast Guard Road, that water will no longer get into EI Woods. That's going to dramatically improve the capacity of EI Woods to deal with the water that's currently moving to it. And there's an equalization pipe, and there's a system between what we have labeled as pipe 1 and pipe 2 inside of Cape Emerald. And again, Public Works cannot open the weir or the valves inside of EI Woods until it's triggered by state stormwater rules, and we have approval to do so. So in this last episode, it was 3 inches of water in a 24-hour period, standing on a highway, roadway, and or byway, impacting or impeding the ability of vehicles to maneuver and make their way, so forth. So anyways, the light switch came on, we opened the valves, and everything was good. And we tried to make sure Cape Emerald was aware of that process. So again, yes, he's correct. The second that we stop pumping that water, it's going to be a benefit. There's also the other factors that I think Chip is referring to inside of the system. I would go on record tonight to tell you that it would be my opinion, it would be best if this entire board got the exact same information as the Cape Emerald board in the exact same room, because your team will have to find funding to help resolve the problem if you choose to do so. Again, we've been down this path. I would say lessons learned. You all should have the information at the same exact time.
May I ask a question as far as the Land's End system? Is it operative now, or is there a date when it will be?
So again, the engineers were here today. We're working on getting that project finally ready for bid. It will go out, and anticipated construction is 2025. We have approximately 22 active projects. There's more details on this project than all projects. If you go to the town's main website and click active projects, it's a main widget on the front. We're working really hard to try to keep those up to date, and if we're missing anything, we'll do it. But again, simple answer to his question, based on all things considered, availability of contractors, timeline, federal funding requirements, and everything that we're doing, we're trying to get that project completed in 2025.
And you're beyond the permit process as far as that's concerned as well?
That's a loaded question. The simple answer to that is there was a CAMA permit that was required. The technology hadn't met the requirements yet. We made it finally through there. So we do have authorization on a certain level of permitting. We had to acquire easement agreements with the Land's End HOA. We were able to secure that and get that done during the July period of this year. We have all of those documentations, and this is an open invitation to anyone in the room, any resident, property owner, taxpayer of Emerald Isle, and or anybody viewing at home. If you want to come to our building, which is 7509 Emerald Drive, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, we have an entire board dedicated to each of these projects. They are, I think the board is over 16 feet long. They're siloed in each project. All the documentation for every project is there. We try to take that information, scan it, upload it, and create our widget online. But we would gladly show you all the work that we're doing in addition to our normalized work. But those are all wonderful questions. Thank you.
you all very much. We'll leave that. I appreciate you coming, your comments, concerns. I appreciate your patience and waiting. And thank you, Matt and Joe, for an update that I know it doesn't bring everybody up at the desk here completely up to speed, but obviously we have a lot of information. If you want to connect with Chip, connect with the HOA, get a little bit more up to speed. I'm not mad at the idea of potentially having a special meeting once we've individually done our due diligence and seeing where we are, and I'll let you all decide if you want to have one or not. Get to a point where you do, call me, I'll make it happen, and we'll throw some calendar dates out there and make it happen. I'm happy to help in any way I can. Thank you. I'll ask for final comments from our Board of Commissioners. Josh, we'll flip it up and start your way, sir.
Your speech, Mr. Holland, Mayor Holland, in the beginning was from the heart. I really felt that, and I hope we can all get on the same path here and support town staff the way they need to be supported to do their job. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Tommy Kellis, welcome aboard. I know I've seen your name pop up a lot online. Hope they spell it right next time. Other than that, everybody, thanks for coming. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Commissioner Brownlow?
Thank you, Mayor. Right after, our July meeting and 4th of July came and went, I tell you what, I've got so many comments about the 4th of July fireworks. It's amazing that I didn't receive hardly any comments at all about the budget or anything else. But man, the fireworks, there was fireworks. And it was on the emails, it was on the phone calls, it was everywhere. So I heard the people speak loud and clear, and I want to work, and Commissioner Taylor and I were just talking about this. In fact, we need to start right away on it, that there is a way to do the fireworks shows in Emerald Isle. It might not be the grand scale that it used to be because of the fire distances and setbacks and everything. But if we can scale it down a little bit, I think we could actually even have maybe 2 performances, one at each beach access, what I gathered from the information I've researched on it. So it's my intentions to bring back the fireworks to 4th of July to Emerald Isle, as well as the Beach Music Festival, to try to find some funding for that if at all possible, because also that's the second most phone calls I got was for the Beach Music Festival. So I heard the people, I'm listening, and I'm trying to respond to it the best I can with what I have to work with right here. So that's, and if at all possible, Matt, I'm still kind of a bookbinder kind of guy. I'd like to get a hard copy of the town ordinances in the UDO, if that's possible, June. Okay. And I know it's a problem updating it as we go, but I'll take care of that. I'll update it. But I still like a good old binder book. Easier for me to find stuff sometimes. But with that, I commend staff. They worked hard during the storm. They work hard all the time, and I've recognized the work. I saw some public works folks out there the other day, and I rolled down my window and told them how much I appreciated the work they do. And I was talking to the lifeguards on the beach while I was out surfing the other day, and walked up to the Jeep and told them what a great job they're doing. So I do commend the staff, and they're a great team and great to work with. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wooten?
Yeah, I'll echo what Josh said. Jason, thank you for your comments at the beginning of the meeting. I'm right there with you, and I really appreciate it. It was from the heart. Thanks, Chip and John and everybody from Cape Emerald for coming out. It's a hard problem, but I got to believe that we can find a solution, or at least to make it better than what it is today. And then Laura, I'll get up with you this week and see where we go with the budget part of that position. I get that it's important. I want to make sure we get it right. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Taylor?
Mayor, once again, heard it from other people too. Thanks for speaking to the heart, and you can feel the love that you have for this town and the people and the staff and everybody else, and it's very touching. Attorney, welcome to the team. I'm happy to have you on board and looking forward to working with you. It's going to be very exciting. I'd like to think that you can become the next Richard Stanley. We're 30 years from now, we're at your retirement party or something here. So that's the plan anyway. Update on the Emerald Isle Fishing Tournament. We're trucking along really good with that. I know most of us involved with that thing, and it's turning out really amazing. We're moving this year to the gym because of some conflicts with scheduling for the captain's party, so it'll be at the gym this year, so we'll have a whole lot more room and stuff. Want to kind of inform the board, been working on a lot of things behind the scenes, trying to get things done. We just got our fish sales permit. Whatever fish come in, we keep them, and then we sell them back, and that goes to our charities and our scholarships and all that good stuff. So we got that permit just rolled in. We're going to apply for an ABC permit for one night on Friday night to serve just beer and wine, but it'll be ticketed. There's going to be 2 policemen standing outside. Want to let the board that we're working on that process too, getting all the proper documentations going and trying to move that forward. Should be plenty of room out there. Love to see as many of you out there. The tournaments in the last 5 years, we're approaching $100,000 that we've given back. Most of it's in scholarships. Last year, this Christmas, you're going to get to enjoy some of the Christmas ornaments. We donated about $7,500 back to our fund. So we build up a lot of money, and then we give it all out, and we're broke again, and we start all over again. And we're approaching about a month and a half out, and the tournament will happen again. And if you like to fish, it's you don't have to have a boat. It's a surf division also. And for $75, you can compete in a one-day tournament. You could walk away with $1,500 just from surf fishing. The boat guy last year, he walked away with over $10,000. So our little tournament that we developed here is in the last 6 years, we've put in quite a few scholarships. Every year except for the first year, I think we gave away 6 $3,000 scholarships. And if you go to a community college, that's a full ride for the community college here at Cape Carteret and the area around here. So I just want to say we're working hard on that part. I want to inform the board where we're at as far as the ABC permits go, and want to make sure that you're all good with the steps I'm taking with getting the permits and all the stuff that's happening and working through the steps. It's a one-day tournament takes up a lot more time than I ever thought it would take up. Staff is amazing. They're always behind me 110%, trying to help me out, trying to work through all the little process, the ways it work. And if you feel like wanting to volunteer for something, we're always looking for great volunteers on our tournament. And if you've ever had any of the Chief's barbecue back there, you'll get a good opportunity. He's cooked for us every year, except for the first year we catered it out, and he volunteered to start cooking. So he's cooking some mean Boston butts that Food Line usually donates all the Boston butts for. So it's a big community thing that hops up, but there'll be all kinds of barbecue and fish and a lot of good times. Can't think enough about the staff here, the commissioners I work with. It's a different board than I had before, but we're working through it. And as the mayor said, we're trying to find our groove and find the right atmosphere that works for all of us up here. And we're working hard for you. And the reason I got here was to try to help the people and try to be the commissioner for the town, for the people kind of deal. It's, as you can imagine, there's 5 different personalities up here and 5 different ways to do something. And we try to meet in the middle somewhere and join it out. You might hear us bicker a little bit back and forth or argue a little bit, but all of us up here, our heart's in the right place, and we're trying to do the right things for the town. And when you come in and talk about, for example, the water issues and stuff, I've been working with those for 6 or 7 years, just from the planning board to now too, and it's going to be a never-ending problem, but it's going to take everybody to figure it out and everybody to work together. And just like the one little hiccup with a person not wanting to sign it for whatever reason, it stops the whole project. So it really takes a team effort to get anything done when you're dealing with the stormwater stuff. But more than happy to be part of the meeting is any way I can to help out, because it's dear to my heart, because I've seen so much damage happen with water and stuff the way it happens. But I'll hush up. I know it's getting late in the day, but I want to thank you each for coming out. Thanks for staying as late as you have tonight with us. Once again, thanks for being our attorney, and look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we have
Oh, you
one.
turn your mic on.
Yes, sir, I appreciate it. We have one point of order. My office or the Parks Director does not have the authority to allow alcohol provisions inside of the Parks and Recreations building. The board has that and reserves the right. What we would ask for tonight is a motion and authority to allow the Emerald Isle Fishing Tournament to have that 1 day of ABC permit inside of that structure, specifically due to the extenuating circumstance. So I think Commissioner Taylor and I would like that in the form of a vote so that all bases are covered. So that's all.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to allow alcohol for the Emerald Isle Fishing Tournament at the Rec Center the day of the tournament.
right, motion's on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have to oppose because of my beliefs, but I support the fishing tournament wholeheartedly.
Okay, so we have a motion and 2 ayes. That's a 3-1. Motion is carried. Understand your position, sir. Thank you. Motion is carried. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night. Thank you all for coming.